Okay, the time has finally come for me to finally make this video. Hi, my name is Charles, and today I'm going to be ranking all 26 of the Marvel movies that are out. And I gotta say, I really took a while composing this list in my mind because, as I said, there are 26 of these movies, so it's not the easiest rating. But then again, some of it was pretty easy to rate and rank, but some of them weren't. So we will go on this journey. At least you will go on this journey with me and see what I think are like the best to worst Marvel movies. Honestly, the first ever Marvel movie I saw in theaters was the first Avengers movie. I remember when Iron Man came out because my family borrowed it on whatever the movie borrowing like thing was at the time. Did we still have Blockbuster then? I don't remember, but whatever we were renting from, we rented Iron Man. And then we never rented Captain America or Thor, and somehow I watched The Incredible Hulk, but like really Iron Man was like the only one I really remembered going into the Avengers movie, and I was like, what is happening here? But who knew that that movie, and also Iron Man, because that's the whole thing that started this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, would like spawn this whole thing that people would be so crazy about. I like the Marvel movies a lot, but I gotta say, out of all 26, I don't think like a lot of them really adds to anything. I mean, they add to the storytelling of like this universe, but in terms of movies, I think like maybe at least half of these were not really needed to be made because they're just Seriously, the ongoing debate between, superhero movies and quote unquote real cinema is insane. It's insane. And honestly, I gotta say, if you know what Ethan Hawke said about superhero movies, that's exactly how I feel about it too, because it's true. Anyways, you better buckle up because we're about to go through 26 movies. I don't know how much of each movie I'm going to talk about, but it's going to be a wild ride to see me talk about where each movie is in 1 through 26 because I don't think everyone's going to agree with my ranking of all the movies, but then again, it's my opinion, so it's whatever. Okay, without further ado, let's just get into this already. Okay, so the first movie at number 26, I have The Incredible Hulk. This is the movie I remember the least. I don't really remember anything that good about it. I just remember the sequence where they're trapped at the university and then like I was about to say Mark Ruffalo. It's Edward Norton. Edward Norton is in that like glass like area, the walkway, and then the army is like trying to kill him. That's the only thing I really remember. I think there was like an evil Hulk in that movie too. It's very fuzzy, but that's how much this movie stuck with me, which is why I had to put it at the bottom because it really had no impact on me. I mean, I know there are some people who defend this movie, but I don't really see a lot of people defending it. So it really makes sense why this one is at the bottom because no one really talks about it and everyone kind of forgets it's in the MCU, to be honest. Moving on to number 25 on the list, I have Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because, baby, James Gunn really was let loose on this movie and it shows. I remember the first time I tried watching the movie, my friend and I were in the theaters and after like I think not even 5 minutes of the movie playing, my friend whispered to me, you want to go because I'm not feeling up for this. Because that opening sequence, I was like, I'm not really feeling the vibe of what's going down. And when my friend said, you want to leave and watch this another day? And I said to myself, yeah, I do. So I was like, okay, let's go. And when I finally went to rewatch the movie in theaters, like a few days later, I was like, choices were made. People compare Guardians of the Galaxy 2 to like a Saturday morning cartoon, and I guess that's an apt like, example of what it is, but I just found most of the movie to be very in taste level. I just think the writing and the story for the majority of it was very and it didn't really come together until like the third act for me. So that means like the first two thirds were not good, and I know it's important to land a movie with a good ending, and that's what this movie did, but I just can't ignore the fact that the first two thirds of it were really bad. The only good thing about this movie is Palm Clementieff as Mantis, the introduction of her, the bond between Gamora and, oh my god, what is her name? Nebula. My god. My god. Sorry, Karen Gillan. I forgot your character's name, but their bond in this movie. And also Michael Rooker's, don't kill me. I forget his name. The guy that like is basically the father figure to Peter Quill, like that guy, Yondu. See, that's how much I do not think about Guardians of the Galaxy because like I don't like this movie and it really left a stain on the franchise for me. But like, seriously, this movie after the first movie, a hard come down. But as I said, that third act really redeems a lot of the movie, but not enough to make me be like, it's a really good movie. Like on my Letterboxd review, I think I gave it a 3 out of 5, and that's being generous. I was being generous, you guys, because that last third really saved it from going down into like 2 stars. So I just had to put the movie second to last because I really never had the urge to rewatch it. When I rewatched it for when I was getting ready for Avengers Endgame, it was the movie that I was not paying attention to the most because I was like, oh my god, this is a slog to get through. Okay, at number 24, I have Thor the Dark World. And this movie gets a lot of bad press. Like, people did not like it. And honestly, when I watched it in theaters, I'm not gonna lie, I was entertained. Is it the best Marvel movie? Absolutely not. But I do think that it's overall just baseline okay. It's not bad and it's not horrible. It's not amazing. It's not great. It's just baseline okay. Like, honestly, I find the movie fine. When I rewatched it for when I was getting ready for Avengers Endgame, I was just like, yeah, this is fine. Like, there's nothing bad about it. It's just okay. It's not really pushing the envelope at all. Kat Dennings was the best person in the movie by far. And I love when she was like, Mew Mew, when they were all like saying their names. They're like, you, Mew Mew. And I was like, yes, girl, bring that comedy. Bring that comedy, Two Broke Girls. But yeah, I really did like the third act with the whole hammer thing where Mjolnir was just like flying around everywhere trying to get to Thor, but Thor kept warping everywhere because of those portals. I thought that was fun. But yeah, the movie itself, as I said, it's fine. It's not bad, it's not great, it's just fine. What I am excited for is Natalie Portman's return to the franchise because in Avengers like Age of Ultron, like both Gwyneth and Natalie Portman didn't appear, and I was like, okay, sure. But then in Avengers Endgame and also Infinity War, Gwyneth was there, but Natalie wasn't. And I was like, Natalie said, bye y'all, y'all suck, because my character in Thor 2 was not good at all. But, you know, at least she's coming back for Thor Love and Thunder. That's the name of it. And hopefully it's really good and that people don't be hating on her because she's playing like Lady Thor or whatever. I'm just like, let Natalie Portman have her things. She should have at least 2 Oscars. And oh my god, she's so talented. They are lucky to have her. So that's on that. Okay, at number 23 on my list, I have Iron Man 2. And this one does have problems. It has problems like story-wise, but I don't think it's the worst, to be honest, because it did give us Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, and isn't it crazy how that could have been Emily Blunt? Another universe if she just didn't sign on to do Gulliver's Travels before she was, like, reached out to play Black Widow. But anyways, like, Gwyneth in this movie is doing girl boss things, and I'm like, you do that, girl. And Scarlett Johansson is like, yes, I am looking hot, and I am also kicking ass, so yeah, and everything else in the movie is okay. The whole thing with Tony Stark in this movie, like, becoming worse and worse, I think that it's based off of a comic book storyline about, like, him becoming more drunk and all that. And I think that if they were gonna go there, they should have gone there, but they didn't. And it's very evident from looking from Iron Man to Iron Man 2 that it's just not as good as the first movie, and that's always bad when you have to look at the movie before the movie that you are looking at right now, and it's not as good or better. It's gonna get bashed, and that's exactly what happened to Iron Man 2. I'm still like, wow, they really replaced Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle, and not many people think about it. They're just like, yep, that happened, bye. And you know what? Terrence Howard should have just not with the money, because I know he had an Oscar nomination. Isn't he an Oscar nominated actor? Pause, let me look at it. Yes, Terrence Howard does have an Oscar nomination. It's for Hustle and Flow, but I'm just like, wow, he wanted more money, and then they were like, well, we can get another black nominated Oscar actor to fill your place, and Don Cheadle was just like, yeah, okay, and honestly, I don't know how much Don Cheadle pushes, but Don Cheadle be working, so I think that Don Cheadle probably asked for like the right amount of money when he's going into jobs because he's had a lot of jobs at this point. Like even from Iron Man 2 above like House of Lies and Black Monday now. And it's like baby boy be working. He be working. So once again, it's like if you ain't popping, you can't be asking for more money even if you're an Oscar nominated actor because you didn't win the Oscar. And also like I don't think Terrence Howard was popping at the moment. if Empire was happening, then he could have asked for more money, but it wasn't happening at the time of Iron Man 2, so fatal mistake. But yeah, Iron Man 2, the middle movie in the trilogy of Iron Man that I never think about. Like, I really just think about Iron Man like 1 and 3 because those are the only ones that I really want to watch when it comes to the Iron Man movies. Okay, moving on to number 22 on my list, which is Captain America, the First Avenger. And this movie was boring. It was boring, is all I gotta say. Like, it was boring. When I think about it even now, I'm just like, I'm bored thinking about it. I mean, it sets up Captain America, but I don't really think they do anything interesting with him until like halfway through the movie. And I think that Chris Evans is still trying to figure out the character clearly because I just think that he's evolved really well with the character. Unlike Robert Downey Jr., who, when he started Iron Man, he already was Iron Man. He was Tony Stark. But with Chris Evans, it took a while, in my opinion, for him to really get into the Steve Rogers of it all. I think he really became the character in the first Avengers movie, but in this movie, it was just like, okay. I mean, this movie really is just set up for other things to happen in the Marvel universe, and it's a period piece, so you can only do so much with it. It's not as exciting as what Wonder Woman did with its period piece setting. That movie, I'm like, you had a lot to say with this period piece that you're using. But with this movie, I'm just like, yeah, so we're in like World War II era. Okay, I know it's like comic books and all that, but I just didn't really find this movie that interesting, but I put it above all the others because it is good, but I'm just not excited by it. Okay, moving on to number 21 on my list, I have the First Thor, and this movie, I can see where Kenneth Branagh was going with it because it had a lot of potential, but at the end of the day, I just think that the second act was a mess, and so was that third act, kind of. But like the first third of the movie, I thought it was very interesting. But as I said, the second and third act both got kind of messy and made this movie not as enjoyable. I loved all the actors involved in this movie, and it really gave us, Chris Hemsworth as Thor and Tom Hiddleston as Loki. So this movie gets a lot of points just for giving us those two actors in those two roles because they are pitch perfect casting. So it really catapults it up past all the other movies I talked about so far because they have really given us so much just by casting those two people alone. Seriously, that third act with like that robot thing that Loki uses, I was like, this is our third act villain? Okay, like, admittedly, a lot of the villains in the Phase 1 era were very, like, weak. But Iron Man, like, I really felt that villain. And, like, Jeff Bridges did a lot with that character. So it just goes to show you good writing can overcome like things that don't seem that exciting. Okay, moving on to number 20, which I have Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I had to put this so low because I just think that there is enough going on in the movie. Like, it has a plot and things are happening, but I think it's just too small scale of a movie. The villain in the movie is Ghost, and Ghost, honestly, at the end of the day, isn't really a villain per se. It's like someone who's only doing bad things because they have to. And it's like, ugh, I hate when people do that. I hate when movies do that where it's like, here's our villain, but they're not really a bad person. It's like, no, I just want a villain who's bad because they are bad. The action sequences in this movie were already showed in like the trailers and TV spots when this movie was coming out. So when I was in the theaters, I was like, I've already seen all this and you're not showing me anything new. So it's just, eh. And honestly, the jokes weren't that funny, and it really shows Peyton Reed that whoever was the writers, I think Peyton Reed was one of the writers in this movie, that Edgar Wright did a lot for the first Ant-Man movie, and I just don't understand because Peyton Reed, the director of Ant-Man and the Wasp, made not In the Mood for Love. That is not the right movie. It is Down with Love. No, that is right. It's called Down with Love with Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor. That movie is a perfect movie, which is why I'm like, I don't know why Peyton Reed didn't make this one better. Like, it could have been even better than the first Ant-Man movie, yet because there was not that much action sequences, not a good villain, and, it wasn't that funny, like, it really dragged this movie down. But still, Paul Rudd is great as ever, so is Evangeline Lilly, so is Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, she's there, and I loved Randall Park. Randall Park as Jimmy Woo. I want to see more of Jimmy Woo in this MCU. Like, please make it happen. I know he was in WandaVision, but he needs to be in another movie, y'all. And also Lawrence Fishburne, he was fine. But once again, him like Michelle Pfeiffer, they were just like, we're here. Yep, in the MCU. Pay us, Marvel. Okay, at number 19, I have Spider-Man Far From Home. And at first, when I saw this, I was like, this is amazing. But when I watched it the second time, I was like, actually, some of like the VFX and all this is very Disney Channel-esque, especially that scene where they're on the bus and that like droid is trying to destroy them, and Peter's like, "Look, baby mountain goats," and everyone's like, "What?" And then he like jumps out of the top of the like school bus thing that they're using, and I was like, "This is very clunky." But what saves the movie really is Tom Holland's, of course, great performance, and also Jake Gyllenhaal's amazing Mysterio. I thought all the sequences with Jake Gyllenhaal were fantastic, and they really carried the movie for me. The one thing I think about when I think about this movie is when Mysterio and Spider-Man are on that bridge after Spider-Man has quote-unquote defeated him, and he's talking to him, and then Peter Parker just grabs out to like his left or right, I forget which way, but it's like an invisible like Mysterio because he was tricking him with like a hologram, and I was like, wow, you were so close to dying. He would have shot you in the head. And Tom Holland's like eye performance, like his eyes were like welling up with tears, and it was like I was about to die right there. And it was like, that's acting. That's acting. As I said, some of the jokes in this movie just don't hit, and that's fine. At least they don't hit with me. They might hit with some people, but I find a lot of the jokes in this movie kind of childish, but it's fine because Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal rise above all of that and like carry the movie on their back. Okay, the next movie I have at number 18 would have to be Eternals. This is the newest movie in the MCU, and my god, I cannot believe it has the lowest rating. At the time of making this video, it was at 47 or 48 on Rotten Tomatoes, I believe. That's bad. Personally, I like the different things that Chloe Zhao was trying to do with Eternals, but I just think that it's kind of a melding monster, this movie, because Chloe Zhao wants to tell like this story in her way, but she also has to do the Marvel stuff that Marvel needs in their movies, so it doesn't blend as well. And it doesn't help that there, once again, is a passive villain, and I hate that. Like, the villain is like the deviants, and then it's like, twist, it's not the deviants. And it's like, first of all, when they were like, this person's bad, I was like, and? Like, you should have made the villain an actor who doesn't seem like a villain, because that villain in the movie, the surprise villain, which is not really that much of a surprise, I was like, yeah, of course they're the villain. Like, Also, there are 10 characters in this movie, 10 main characters, and none of them get the screen time they need to really establish them as people I really care about. I mean, I like Barry Keoghan's character. Is it Keoghan or Keegan? I don't know how you say his last name, but love him, love the actor, and I love Lauren Ridloff, and I loved Angelina Jolie. Yes, I like Angelina Jolie too. Those three were the main three that I was like, I'm rooting for y'all. Everyone else, I was like, okay. I mean, a lot of people like Kumail Nanjiani, and I guess he was funny, but I was really laughing at any of his jokes. And also the whole thing with his transformation just has me side-eyeing, being like, I don't know if I can support you right now, babe. This movie has Marvel's first ever sex scene, and it is bland as hell. And my first thought when I was watching was, why are we in this sandy area? Sex on the sand is not cute. It's not cute. It goes everywhere, and it's not cute for anyone, so why are we doing it here? You know what was more sexy than that sex scene? It was Dane Whitman, aka Kit Harington, dancing with Gemma Chan at his birthday party at that club. That was hot. I was like, Kit, you did that. Seriously, the first third of this movie, it could have been edited better. I was thinking in the theater, we just need to rearrange the way you're showing the first third of this movie, and it would have hit stronger, but that wouldn't fix like the problem of the movie, where first of all, it does feel a bit too long, and a lot of people feel it. I personally was fine with it, but a lot of people are saying it's too long, and I get that. And you're just not able to tell the story in the way it needs to be told. Like, this could have been a TV show, to be honest. It could have been a TV show, and it probably would have benefited from being a TV show. At the end of the day, I'm like, beautiful imagery, Chloe Zhao, but you trying to do something different with this superhero genre and like Marvel in general, it's commendable, but I think the masses are out to get you. Like, maybe not the masses, maybe the critics. I don't know exactly why it has such a low Rotten Tomatoes score, because honestly, in my mind, I was like, this will at least be around like the mid 70s, but seeing it in the high 40s is a surprise to me, because as I said, I think this is actually good, and there's a lot of good elements in this movie, but you know, people are just coming after Chloe, and it's like, That sucks. Last thing I gotta say about Eternals real fast is the first post-credit sequence that shows that Harry Styles is now in the MCU and he's playing Eros, whatever, an Eternal Eros. I was like, he's really not anything I feel like talking about because I don't think Harry Styles has established himself as an actor. It felt more stunt casting to me, and he hasn't proved himself at all. So I'm just like, why y'all giving him this role other than that he's Harry Styles, like this huge musician? Like, I recently saw a post today from like a newspaper magazine article, whatever, and they were like, is Harry Styles the greatest actor of our generation? And I was like, who said that? Like, he's only been in one movie, and I don't even remember what he did in Dunkirk, because he looked like everyone else. Moving on to number 17 on my list, I have Captain Marvel, and this movie got a lot of hate because, you know, Brie Larson was talking this, talking that, but I was like, I support my Oscar-winning actress, and y'all aren't gonna tear this movie down, and it made over $1 billion, and, you know, it has a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is fine, but this is one of those movies that I would have expected it to be lower, but it wasn't. So I'm just like, critics are weird because, as I said, Eternals did not deserve the hate it got. But anyway, with Captain Marvel, I thought it was a fun movie. It was a little cheesy at times, but I thought overall it was fine. I think that Brie Larson did an amazing job, like, keeping this movie afloat. And I think that Samuel L. Jackson was a nice companion to her. And I forget the actress who plays, like, her friend, like Maria Rambeau, but she was great as well. And I love Annette Bening, even though Annette Bening was like Michelle Pfeiffer and Ant-Man and the Wasp, where they were like, well, we're here, paycheck Marvel. The whole get back up sequence that happens in the third act of this movie was great. I mean, I really love seeing like characters like in moments toward the end of their movies where it's like the past like shows them progressing to where they are right now, where it's like she was getting up as a kid, as like a very young kid, and then getting up as like an older kid, and then getting up as like a younger adult version of herself, and then getting up now being like, I will always get back up. And I was like, yes, I did feel that. I did feel that. I honestly forgot that Jude Law was in this movie for a second, but just like Annette Bening, he said, I'm here, Marvel, so paycheck, please. I do like Captain Marvel, and I'm excited to see where they go with her next movie, but as a character, I'm just like, how are we going to make it so she's not so overpowered? Because that's the whole reason that she wasn't in Avengers Endgame that much, because she was super strong and they saved her into the end. But they can't just keep using the excuse of, oh, I'm somewhere saving the galaxy, so I can't be here, you guys. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see how they tackle, like, a threat for her, because her villains in her movie were so basic. Like, she wasted alien Gemma Chan, and then she got reincarnated as an Eternal, so Marvel. They said, girl, sorry for that. Let's try you again. Okay, at number 16 on my list, I have Spider-Man Homecoming. And this movie was a cute high school movie. That's how I thought about it. Because it's not really like the biggest kind of like MCU movie. It's like Spider-Man doing high school stuff. And then like stuff happening every once in a while. And him being like, oh, I gotta do something. So it did feel kind of small scale in aspects. Like it didn't really feel like big into like that third act when, you know, Tom Holland went up against Michael Keaton, but everything else was very small scale and very like high school movie, which I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for. And Tom Holland really shined in the movie, and I really got to give this movie a lot of points for really showing just how good Tom Holland is as Spider-Man. Zendaya is great casting in the movie, and I love Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, and yeah, overall, it's a cute little movie, but I don't know. I just want more bite with Spider-Man movies. That's what I'm feeling is missing with like these newer Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland. They're missing the bite because in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, there was more bite to them. Like all three movies, even that third one, they had like a sense of danger and urgency. But in this one, it's kind of like we chillin', and then the third act, they're like, stuff is going down. We gotta handle it now, and it's like. Uh, it would have been better if we sensed like this danger in the second act at the very least, you guys. Michael Keaton did the work in this movie, and I just want to see more of him in general because I don't think Michael Keaton gets a lot of good work that much recently. I mean, he gets stuff, but like he kind of should have won that Oscar for Birdman. Just saying, just saying. It's not like Eddie Redmayne's doing anything with it, so I just want more for Michael Keaton, and hopefully he's going to get more since he is apparently sticking around in the Sony Spider-Man universe, and he's also going to be Batman again in DC, so I just want good things for Michael Keaton. Okay, the next thing we have on the list is number 15, which is Iron Man 3, and I gotta give this movie big points for letting Gwyneth Paltrow be in the Iron Man suit not once, but actually I guess kind of 1.5 because in the blowing up the house sequence that was like fully Iron Man up. But like at the end of the movie, she only puts on like the glove, the arm part of it. So I guess it's like 1.25-ish that she suited up. But still, it was really cool seeing Gwyneth Paltrow be in the Iron Man suit. And it really was foreboding of what would come with Avengers Endgame. I really go up to bat for Iron Man 3 because there's a lot of things going on, like, Tony Stark's PTSD that he's experiencing after the first Avengers movie. And, it's like he wants to keep Gwyneth Paltrow's Pepper Potts safe, but it's like his PTSD is like making him kind of go crazy. And then I really do like that it kind of takes place in Christmas. I mean, Shane Black is known for like putting his movies in Christmas for a random reason, but I don't know. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And even though a main criticism of this movie is that Iron Man isn't really in the movie, it's more Tony Stark, I did like that personal touch to the movie because, once again, I just do like more personal stories than just big action sequences. I mean, I do like big action sequences, don't get me wrong, but at this point with Tony Stark, it felt right to give Tony the spotlight, not Iron Man. Also, I think people kind of don't like this movie because, Gwyneth Paltrow saves the day at the end. Like, Guy Pearce is gonna try to finish off Tony Stark, but she's like, not on my watch. Not on my watch. And it was like, yes, you better goop and gag them, Gwyneth. And that's what she did, and people are mad, and still are mad. Number 14 on my list, I have Black Widow. And I like this movie. A lot of people said that it wasn't that good because there weren't that many good action sequences, and I kind of agree with that, and a lot of people were saying that it's not really focusing that much on the Black Widow character herself, but more on Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova, who's supposed to be the new Black Widow in the MCU. So I can see that this movie is more of a transition movie to like show us the new future of Black Widow. Because as you know, Scarlett Johansson's character died in Avengers Endgame, so we need a new Black Widow, and this movie basically was showing us who that's gonna be. But nonetheless, I thought it was really good. I liked the relationship between, Scarlett and Florence and Rachel and David Harbour, and I just think that it was a nice movie. On first watch, I was like, this is good, and then my thoughts on it was kind of wavering, but when I watched it again for the second time at home when it came out on Blu-ray, I was like, no, this is good. I'm really invested in this movie, and yeah, I like it a lot. My biggest gripe with the movie is that the third act final battle, like, I know Marvel is really known for that bad CGI third act scene fight monster CGI mess at the end of their movies, but this, I was like, this falling out of the sky sequence could have been longer, and it should have been more action in the sky. Like, you could have been falling for a really good amount of time and have a lot of cool things happen before you hit the ground, but it was so fast, and my mom was like, that's just a waste of this concept that we're in right now. At number 13, I have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. First of all, I gotta say, have you guys seen the Blu-ray 4K artwork for this movie? Because it is the blandest. I'm just like, what is happening with the distribution team at Disney? Because come on, use some better artwork. But like, I pre-ordered the Best Buy Steelbook, and I'm just like, man, this is the blandest Steelbook ever. I'm just getting it for the disc artwork, but my God, like, do better, Disney. Do better with like your artworks for your physical media because it's starting to become very bleh. Anyways, Shang-Chi. I love the first 2/3 of the movie, but once is it? Maybe it's not Shang. It's Sean. Sean. When Sean. I was like, what is his name in the movie? It's technically Sean or Shang or whatever. But like, when Sean is, at his mom's village with, Aquafina and his sister, I was like, okay. And everything after that point really devolved into, okay, this is really basic as hell. I'm not the biggest fan of, the Marvel CGI third act mess that usually is there, but this one was extremely messy. And when that dragon came up from the water and they were like, yes, we have a dragon now, I was like, I know you guys kind of introduced the idea of this dragon like earlier in the third act, but I don't know, just seeing it, I was like, it's not that it wasn't realized, it was just that my mom was like, really? This is what we're doing? Okay. And also, Sean totally could have saved his dad. I was like, I know your dad be bad, and he was a really bad parent, and quote unquote bad guy, but still, like, you could have saved him at the end if you wanted to. Watching that sequence over twice, I was like, you really could have saved him, but you didn't, so F you for like doing that to Tony Leung. Will we get to see more Shang-Chi? Because like, I don't know. Because there's a lot of crazy stuff going with, Simu Liu and like how China doesn't like him, so they're not gonna screen any of his movies with him there. So I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen to Shang-Chi, but we'll see. We'll see. Seriously, the first two-thirds of this movie are great, and Dustin Daniel Cretton, the director, if you guys haven't seen his first movie, Short Term 12, you should, because that is a masterpiece of a movie. Go watch it because it's amazing. Okay, at number 12, I have Age of Ultron. Oh, I probably should say the full title. Avengers Age of Ultron. And this movie really was mixed. I'm pretty sure it's at like 74% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, but I like a lot of what's in here, but I do agree that it is, at the end of the day, a mess. It's kind of the same thing with what happened with James Gunn with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like, Joss Whedon got more reign with this movie, and the studio apparently was asking him for things too. So it's like he had creative freedom, at the same time, not really, because they were like, you need to add all this stuff in there too to set up all the rest of these movies that are coming down the pipeline. And once again, it shows just how bad Marvel can be when, instead of focusing on the movie that they're making at the moment, they're trying to use that movie to set up other movies. And it's like, let's just, be focused on telling a good story. And I feel like if Marvel wasn't meddling and, they just needed, they just, they just didn't need to meddle, first of all. And then they need to rein in Joss Whedon, because a lot of the stuff in this movie was good, but there were some things that I was like, you messed up. Like the whole Black Widow being like, I'm a monster because I can't have kids. It was like, whoa. And oh my god. Also, the movie was a little bit too light and campy, and I was like, no, we need to be more serious, especially with the villain Ultron. Like, he should have been even darker. Like, he can be quippy and all that, but he felt too light in my opinion. The movie really is just an excess of everything from the first Avengers movie, and I think that is where they kind of went wrong. Like, they give you a lot of the team poses and like a lot of more quippy jokes that are more than the first movie. And once again, it shows just because people like something about a movie, you don't need to like put that times 2 or 3 in the sequel, because there is such a thing as overdoing something, you guys. And this movie gave us, Vision and Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, but Pietro's gone and they ain't ever using Aaron Taylor Johnson, which is a shame. But, at least we had him for the brief moments we did. But at least we had those 3 characters from this movie, so I really had fun watching this. I always have fun rewatching it, and I remember the first time I watched it in theaters, I like skipped pre-calc in high school to go watch it. I told my teacher, I gotta go to my community college because my teacher needs me for something. And she was like, okay. And I just left and went right to the theater. And I was like, yeah, because who cares about school? I'm a senior right now. Let me go watch this movie. Okay, I'm going to move on to number 11 now, which is Ant-Man. And this movie, I gotta say, it could have been stronger if we just had Edgar Wright helming the film fully. But, Edgar Wright and Marvel had to split, and I don't know. I think it's because Edgar Wright probably would have done something a little bit more edgy. Like, I love Peyton Reed, as I said, I love Down with Love, but gotta be said that his work with Ant-Man the Wasp shows that he ain't really pushing the boundaries, and that's what he needs to do. So for the third Ant-Man movie, I hope he really pushes it. But seriously, give it to better writers and then have like Marvel really watch over him. But with this movie, I just think that Edgar Wright's screenplay did a lot for the movie. And once again, we get a nice character introduction with Paul Rudd and his character of Ant-Man. And I just think this movie is good by itself. And it really sets up a lot of good stuff for the MCU going forward. Like, that's how it should be. Like, focus on making your main movie and then, like, worry about world building for, like, your universe later. Because I just think that Ant-Man is a very nice, contained movie. And I love all the supporting characters in it. Michael Pena's great. T.I.'s in it. Everyone else, like, of course, Evangeline Lilly and Michael Douglas are in it, and they're great. Which is why I'm just thinking Judy Greer, Bobby Cannavale, like, once again, this franchise has a great cast of people, and I'm just like, just focus on making these movies good, like, their single entries good. But with Ant-Man the Wasp 3, Quantumania, We'll see how that goes because apparently it's going to be a huge event. And I don't know, like the second movie, as I said, was pretty kind of plain with the action sequences and all that. So hopefully they level up. I love Cassie. That's the character, his daughter's name. Like, no, Catherine Newton. That is the person. That's the person who's now playing Paul Rudd's daughter in the Ant-Man series. And I'm like, girl, you better rock it because I love you. Okay, we've reached the top 10 Marvel movies I have left. So we're going to start off with number 10, of course, which for me would have to be Captain America Civil War. With Captain America Civil War, I thought it was interesting to see the Avengers split up. Like, they really were split down the line on whose side they were. And I gotta say, I would be 100% on Tony Stark's side. I mean, I know Tony wasn't fully in the right with the way he was trying to convey his message and trying to get things done, but at the end of the day, I do believe he is on the right side. And watching this movie, I was like, Captain America is flawed in the sense that he seeks justice, but the justice has to be in the, like, his view. Like, his view of justice is what he's sticking with. So if he's not viewing something as being just or something, then it can't be excused. That's why it's crazy, because what he's seeing as just is what he sees, but it might not actually be just. So it was very interesting, the movie. It was very interesting to see, like, the divide that was happening there. Once again, this movie, like some other Marvel movies, introduces new characters. We got Spider-Man and we got Black Panther. Two great characters, and they were both introduced in really nice ways in this movie. So once again, you have to make, like, connections to other Marvel movies feel organic and not, like, rushed. That's why Age of Ultron, like, ultimately had problems with its story because they were trying to make too many connections with that for the next movies. But with this one, it just felt natural that those characters would be in this movie. And honestly, that airport battle, amazing. I also love the battle between Tony Stark and Natasha Romanoff versus the Winter Soldier in that cafeteria area. It really, like, was full of tension and danger. Like, you could tell that he was gonna kill them if he had the chance, and that's what I want. I want stakes in Marvel movies, and the movies at the bottom of this list of mine, like, I just didn't really feel like there were that much stakes. But, you know, this top 10, there are stakes in all of these movies. I honestly can't believe that people would be behind Captain America after it's revealed that he knows that Bucky killed Tony's parents, and he's known for a long time, and that he's just been not saying anything about it. Like, what a bad friend Steve is for doing that to Tony. And then when Tony was like, he killed my father, he's like, I know. And then it's like, you're still defending Bucky. I know he was brainwashed, but he needs to pay somehow. And I just can't believe. I just cannot believe. And then when they tag team attacked Tony, I was like, you guys are monstrous. And then when Tony was like, you don't deserve that shield. My father made that shield. I was like, tell him, because he is honestly being monstrous at this point. Okay, at number 9, I have Thor Ragnarok. And this movie really did give the Thor franchise the boost it needed, the pulse starter, like the, you know, clear like it needed to keep going, because now they're going to make a Thor 4, and that's unprecedented because Marvel movies, when it comes to, like, one hero, they usually only get 3 movies, but Thor is the only one that gets 4. So good for Taika Waititi, like, giving this movie the jump start it needed. Not the movie, the franchise the jumpstart it needed. I love Taika Waititi's direction. I love the comedy. The comedy feels effortless. I really love Taika Waititi's other movies. My favorite of his probably would be The Hunt for the Wilder People. That or What We Do in the Shadows. Those 2 movies are high power. Like, Jojo Rabbit, even though I own that movie, is not that good of a movie, and he should not have won that Oscar. But you know what? I'm happy Taika has that Oscar. At least he has an Oscar, so end of discussion there. Seriously, with Ghostbusters and Thor Ragnarok, Chris Hemsworth really showed that he is a comedic force, and that's good because he shouldn't only rely on being, like, the hot guy, which is why when I look at Richard Madden in Eternals, he was just like, I'm gonna be hot and smolder a lot and be, like, cold. And it was like, I really hate when hot guys are like that. It's like, I want personality, because it's boring just to see stoic people. It's really boring in my opinion, which is why I'm very glad that Thor went from being someone who was so serious to someone who was like, fun. And it was like, yeah, that's why I put this movie so high up on my list, because I'm like, it really did something different and it worked out. Cate Blanchett should have killed everyone in this movie, and she should not have died. And she should still be in the MCU, but apparently she's not, because Cate Blanchett was like, thanks for the paycheck. I mean, I looked good on film, but whatever. It's like, Hela really should have survived. because she was that girl. She was that girl. Okay, number 8 on my list, I have Black Panther. And this movie, I really like it a lot, but I do feel like at times it feels overhyped. Honestly, I really do love what Ryan Coogler does with this movie, and I totally agree that it does deserve its Best Picture nomination because of what it does and what it tries to communicate. But I don't know, I just don't find myself fully like, yes, this is the Marvel movie that I want to watch all the time. This is the movie that I'm like is the best one of all the Marvel movies. It's really good, but it just doesn't elicit an emotional response from me. I understand why a lot of people are drawn to this because of representation, and it's like, yes, go get it, girl. But honestly, for me, I'm just like, it's good, but it's not my favorite in the franchise, and that should be fine. At number 7 on my list, I have the first Iron Man movie, and this movie gets a lot of credit because it is the movie that started the MCU off. It started off with a bang because it is a really tight movie. Like, nothing in this movie is bad. Like, everything in this movie works perfectly, and I honestly wouldn't change a thing about the movie. Tony Stark is a great character, and Robert Downey Jr. really embodies the character, and I really do love Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts, as I've said throughout this video, and Jeff Bridges was a great villain. At number 6, I have Doctor Strange. I know some people don't like Doctor Strange, but I like Doctor Strange. I don't know, maybe it's because I just like magic stuff better. Like, anything involving magic, I'm very drawn to. And this movie also has Rachel McAdams, even though she's only like in the first third and a little bit of the third act. Like, you got me, you got me. And they got her because they got her to sign back on for Doctor Strange 2. So good for them, because Rachel was about to be like Natalie Portman being like, well, I didn't really have anything to do, so eh. And then they were like, what if we expand the role? And she was like, sure. Hopefully she got more money too. Hopefully she got more money too for the next movie. Benedict Cumberbatch is great as Stephen Strange, and you know, he does his snarky British thing that he always says. Wait, he's American in this movie, so he's imitating an American, but he's still being snarky. And I love Tilda Swinton in this movie, even though admittedly she should not have taken the role as the Ancient One, but you gotta admit that she is pretty great as the Ancient One, so it had to be said. The visuals in this movie are on point. The visual effects really did that. And I know the third act, like, villain isn't, like, the strongest. I mean, Mads Mikkelsen is the villain, and he, once again, wasn't the strongest. And Dormammu at the end, like, the way that Doctor Strange defeated him wasn't, like, ooh, in your face. But I thought it was smart and clever and really good the way he defeated him, so I was fine with it. At the end of the day, I'm gonna need a lot more people to put more respect on Doctor Strange because it did that, and y'all about to be gagged when, you know, Doctor Strange 2 comes out, because he leveled up so hard in the Avengers Infinity War movie that you guys should be excited to see what he's going to do in his next movie. Okay, we made it to the top 5, and at number 5, I have Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This movie made me interested in Captain America because, as I said, the first Captain America movie, I really wasn't that interested in the character, but, you know, the Russo brothers did that with this movie. The action sequences are amazing, and the storytelling for this movie in particular, the political thriller genre that they use for this movie, is fantastic. I love political thrillers. Sebastian Stan's Winter Soldier is incredible in this movie, and any action sequence with him in this movie was always great to watch. I really love the sequence where he's trying to get Black Widow. That's a fun sequence to watch. There are so many good sequences in this movie. It's just overflowing with greatness, which is why it totally makes sense that, you know, they made the next Avengers movies after Age of Ultron, because they clearly had the talent, and, you know, the results speak for themselves. Just like Taika Waititi, the Russo brothers really transformed Captain America as a character, and I'm really grateful because not only did they deliver a really strong movie, but they really changed my perception of a character who I was not really interested in. Okay, at number 4 and 3, I have both Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. I would say Endgame would be 3 for me, and then Infinity War be 4. These movies are hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other, and that's why I put them right next to each other. Like, these movies are the culmination of what the MCU had been working to, and it is just a grand time. Like, all the storylines come together, and you get a lot of emotional moments while still having a lot of action-packed, entertaining moments. God, in Infinity War, when they lost the end of the movie, my whole theater was quiet, and I was like, wow, they really did end the movie like that. And then in the theater for Endgame, it was like a Thursday night showing of it. It was a full theater, it was sold out, and when, like, Captain America was like, Avengers assemble, after everyone appeared, the whole theater erupted in cheering. There was so many cheering, so much cheering in that third act of Infinity War. Not Infinity War, Endgame. Sorry, I get them switched up sometimes, but there was so much cheering during Endgame at the end that I was like, wow, my ears are kind of starting to hurt, not because of the sound of the movie, but the people around me screaming. Like, these two movies are the crowning achievements of what Marvel had been working up to, and the work paid off. And these are two movies that I love to watch all the time, back to back, because you can honestly just watch them self-contained and still have a really good story by themselves without having to have seen any of the other Marvel movies. And that really, in my opinion, is a testament to the Russo brothers for crafting two really good movies. Seriously, that third act in Endgame is the best third act sequence in a Marvel movie that I think I've ever seen. Actually, the other two movies on my list, the last two, actually do it pretty well too, so never mind. It is one of the best. Okay, moving on to number 2 on my list, I have Guardians of the Galaxy, and this movie really changed the game in my opinion. Like, when I went to go watch this in theaters, I was like, what is this even about? And then I walked out being like, wow, what a powerful yet funny movie. Disney did the right amount of watching over James Gunn in this movie because the humor really hits in this movie. The action sequences are great, the story is great, and all the actors in the movie are firing on all cylinders. Everything really just comes together to make a really perfect movie. Like, this is one of the only movies in Marvel that I'm like, this is perfect. The whole Chris Pratt of it all, and to a degree, James Gunn of it all, really casts a shadow on this movie, but I still love watching this movie. And the whole sequence at the end where Peter Quill's holding the Power Stone, and then Gamora's like, Peter, take my hand, and it's like he sees his mom, and then, oh my god, that sequence is beautiful, it's emotional, and I was just like, wow, cinema. My only gripe with this movie is that they put sexy Lee Pace in all that, like, makeup, and I'm just like, no, you have Lee Pace, like, use him. I don't understand why people don't use Lee Pace, like, well, like, y'all don't know what you have with Lee Pace when you have Lee Pace. Okay, finally at number 1, I have the first Avengers movie. And this movie will always be the best one in my opinion because, first of all, it's the first Marvel movie I saw in theaters, as I said, so it has an impact on me. But also, you can never feel the same magic that you'll see in this movie when the Avengers first assemble for the first time. The shot where it's like, it's circling all of them and it shows one by one until it like shows them all. God, Joss Whedon really snapped with this movie. His direction was great, the writing was great, and all the actors really were at a point in their playing these characters that they really had a grip on them and can play them really well. This movie is the one that I watched the most because I just love so much of what goes on in this movie, and when it came out, I would think about it all the time because it was just so good, and it really is one of my favorite movies of all time, in my top 200 movies of all time, period, because it is that good. It is one of the only, like, superhero movies of all time that I'm just like, wow, that was history. That was history. I mean, Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame is history as well, but, like, the first Avengers movie, that's history, babe. There are so many sequences in this movie that I think about all the time. Like, when Black Widow is running away from Hulk, and then it's like slow motion showing her running and he's destroying everything around them. Whew, I think about that all the time. Or when Tony is going against Steve, kind of foreshadowing what was going to happen in Civil War. I was like, yes, yes, all of this. Oh god, there's just so many good things going on in this movie that it really has a special place in my heart, which is why it's number 1 for me. Well, I did it. I ranked all 26 Marvel movies. That was hell, and my battery's almost dead, but I did it, you guys. Whew. Anyways, tell me down below in the comments what you guys thought about my rankings. It probably might not be everyone's favorite rankings of all these movies, but hey, this is what I felt. This is what I felt. But, tell me down below in the comments what you guys think of what is the best to worst Marvel movies, because people have opinions. People have opinions, as I told you in this video, so I'm very interested to see what those opinions are, because people are interesting. Before I go, I just gotta say, I am excited for the next Spider-Man movie. I mean, there are rumors that both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are gonna be back, especially with Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone, and like, cause their villains are apparently in this movie, so I'm just excited for it overall. I mean, if they give us that good stuff, I'm gonna be so gagged. I'm gonna be so gagged, you guys. But yeah, I'm excited. Are you guys excited? Anyways, you guys, thank you for coming to my channel and watching this whole video. And yeah, I'll see you guys around in the next video if you're around for that. So until then, I'm gonna go now. So yeah, bye.